right, here we are, the Crystal Clear Point Studio with Lulu Morse, Dr. Matthew Pearson. I am Deborah Colleen Rose with Miles of Smiles events, and we're talking again, so y'all better watch out. I'm not kidding. I'm wound up today. My face hurts. So I have a bad tooth. I've never had a bad tooth in my life, and I found out when it comes to bad teeth, I'm a wussy. I am a wussy. I have a high tolerance for pain from here down. Here up, not so much. What are y'all up to?
I'm packing, packing, and packing.
As in packing a gun or packing packages?
Packing up my house so I can move.
Yeah, she's moving further away. I'm sad.
No, she's not.
Yes, I am. Bitch, please.
Bitch, please.
Uh,
So when's the move date?
Monday, Monday.
Wow.
But I pack a little bit every day, so I don't, so it doesn't kill me.
Yeah, she's moving Monday, and then Wednesday we have Party Fest, our vendor conference thing where we get to displays our goods and wares and services, and we'll be there all day long.
And
So
I told Robert that, and he goes, "Mom, you're abandoning me." I said, "No, this was planned before, way before. And you told me we were going to move last Friday, the 22nd or the 23rd. So I wasn't worried about it."
yeah, we booked this back in March.
Yeah.
Back in March. So anyway, we're one of the few, I guess, small. I call us a small entertainment service compared to what most people are doing the gig business.
Hmm.
So we're kind of one of a kind booth out there, but we got a great position. We're like smack dab in the middle. So I think that's great. So I'm excited. I think
That's
we
where
had a
we
good
were.
time last year. Did we have a good time last year?
She can't remember because she was on drugs. She had
Oh,
just had her hip surgery.
I
Yes, we had
know.
a great time last year. Mostly laughing at you.
I know what the hell is wrong with me. In August last year, I had a hip replacement. This month, I got to have a tooth extracted. What the hell? I don't like August. August sucks. It sucks. So, yeah, I had a scooter. Matthew, this is so stupid. I had a scooter and I'm running all over that place, higher than a kite. Now, here's what gets me. I knew I was not capable of driving a vehicle. So why I thought I should be driving a scooter where there's tons of pedestrian traffic.
Like even closer together.
I don't think I ran over anybody though.
Not that you recall.
Well, they didn't sue me if they did. I do remember honking my horn a lot though.
She did do that.
I did.
Well, I also heard you got in trouble for drag racing the older guys that had scooters as well down the hallway.
Oh,
I
that was
didn't
at the
see that.
NAMI conference in California
Oh, okay. So
because
different one.
oh, I don't know why I do this to myself. A week after I had knee replacement surgery, I fly to California for a 5 day conference or a 3 day conference there for the NAMI convention. And we had a booth there and we were presenting our curriculums because we had a national curriculum that we offered to the other NAMIs and all this stuff. And I'm out there. And this is one of those old Hollywood type resorts where they have the cabanas and then they have the hotel rooms and it's all spread out. So you couldn't even go to the bathroom without walking, you know? I mean, so I had a scooter the whole time. And yeah, I got in trouble for drag racing, the old men on a scooter.
Wish I was there. I would have loved to see that.
That was fun. All right. So we decided, we actually are starting to decide ahead of time what we're going to talk about. It's really strange. It's like we're finally getting organized after a year. No, not really. We're going to talk about boundaries, but it's not about boundaries so much as what you set on what you will allow people around you to do. It's your own personal boundaries on what you expect out of yourself. And when you have to say, you've done enough, you've had enough, you've got to step back because you're trying to extend yourself too much. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And the reason we're doing that is I get sick and tired of people saying, well, you've just crossed my boundary. Well, I don't care. Handle it, Roy. I think people use that as an excuse for not doing things they don't want to do, or not letting other people do things that they don't want to do with not a good reason.
Well, do those people that say that, do they know what your boundary is? Or do they tell you what their boundary is before they start yelling about you crossed my boundary?
Oh, that's a good point. No, they don't.
Well,
They
then,
don't.
uh, I passed your boundary and I didn't know it. So you told me, on that day, I don't talk to people. I don't do this. I met, and I'm like, oh, so sorry. So I haven't done it since.
Well,
I don't
good,
think so.
because I can be a real bitch. I can be a real bitch.
But that's just it. You can't just arbitrarily say, you crossed my boundary when you hadn't told anybody about your boundary.
Well, and so I said we weren't going to talk about this, but we are, obviously. So you've crossed my boundary. No, I'm kidding. I mean, is it a boundary, or are you just not liking the situation? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Well, if you set up a boundary, okay, that means like, I don't appreciate you talking to me in this fashion or using these types of words. Okay. So I would appreciate it if you would not use those around me. That's a boundary. It's specific, it's measurable. You know that I mean, that's the threshold right there.
Right.
exactly.
Robert set a boundary with his dad. He says, I don't want to hear those slang words for Black people or brown people because
Hmm.
those are my friends. And his dad kept doing it. And he goes, okay, bye. And hung up on him, hadn't talked to him since.
I had to do that with my dad when I had kids, because he would use those terms, in private, but around the children.
Mhm.
Now, my theory is that I didn't like those things, and I could pick or choose whether or not I wanted to be in his presence and what I was willing to do or not do in my personal relationship. However, I had a different boundary of him doing those things around the children because it influenced them and it impacted them. And they could pick up that habit, not even understanding that it had such a huge implication that was bigger than what they could comprehend. And they'd get the shit beat out of them if they said that at school.
Mhm.
And he didn't see it eye to eye with me. So he wasn't allowed to be around my children. And consequently, since I couldn't take my children around him, I wasn't around him either. So it put a huge hickey in our relationship for 20 years. So yeah, so I get boundaries like that. What I don't get is you're having a conversation and you say something and someone goes, "Well, you just crossed my boundary." Well, okay, what was that boundary? How did I cross it? And why are you taking that tone of voice like you're my fucking mother and you're reprimanding me? You're not the boss of me, is what I want to say, because I'm so mature. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But what brought this to mind for me was this weekend. I love helping people. Um, I know it doesn't seem like it sometimes. I'm very curmudgeon. Is that a word? Curmudgeon? Curmudgery?
Curmudgeon.
Yeah, okay. And but I really do like helping people. And it's not hard for me to help people, to offer them experience and advice and common sense and stuff like that. It's something that comes easy for me, and people must like it because they call me for these things. So I'm not patting myself on the back here. But I realized when I got 5 phone calls yesterday from different people over different issues that maybe I was not being fair to myself, that I was allowed to have time off. I was allowed to have quiet time. I was allowed to say, hey, I hurt. I don't feel good. I cannot talk to you. Unless you're going to kill yourself, we can do this conversation later, you know, that type of thing.
Guess you
And
would have to qualify that.
do I?
I guess you would have to qualify that.
Well, with some of the people I know, you do. Hello, it's just truth. So, which do you think is more important, or are they the same value just from different perspectives? Knowing other people's boundaries or knowing your own boundaries and enforcing them on taking care of yourself, not so much in the quality of outside relationships, but the relationship that you have with yourself and caring for yourself.
Well, I think you have to know your own boundaries. But especially in your friend circle, then you should tell people like you told me.
I don't even remember doing that. Was it recently?
I
No,
remember you doing
couple
it. So
couple of months ago, I think.
I mean, to me, these are just natural flow of life issues, and I don't
Mhm.
put a lot of, I don't put a lot of thought in them after the fact. Um, and that bites me in the butt sometimes because sometimes people will carry energy from those exchanges, and I don't have that same energy. And so then I have to go back and clarify, clean up, whatever, to make sure that all is well in our worlds. Does that make sense?
But yeah, what was I going to say? Must have been important.
You said that I made a real clear boundary on something.
Oh, that yes, you made it very clare, but
Did it hurt your?
not in an angry way.
Yeah.
She said, you said
Uh-oh.
you have passed my boundary today, and I went, what boundary? I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
she goes, I know that you don't know, so now I'm telling you, so it won't happen again. And I was like, okay, thank you.
She was stressed over one thing, and I was stressed because she was stressed because I have a routine of preparing for gigs and events, and she made her stress my stress. And I was not happy, and she was not happy. So we had to come to a place where we could both be happy.
Anyway, that didn't happen again. So now all she says has to say is, I have a gig tonight. Okay, bye.
I know, and in a perfect world, I should, and I actually did this when I had my last gig. I got up, didn't really think about it. I had already packed my bag the day before, my table decor, laid out my outfit the day before, and really didn't think about it too much until about 2 hours. So it was time to get ready. And I'm like, this is the way I need to flow more because I
Mhm.
obsess the whole day, usually, of a gig. Running scenarios in my head, what can go wrong, what can go right, you know, preparing my energy, not necessarily meditating, but pulling in the energy that I want to take into this event. Do I want to be high energy? Do I want to be low energy, depending on the group? Things like that. And I'm like, you know what? That's just too much work. You know, it's just a 2 hour gig. Get over it. But I like taking my best. I like taking my best into an event.
Well, I think what you wanted to talk about today, though, was like people asking you to do things and you always saying yes.
Yeah, because I like helping people. I do. I like making their job easier. I like making their lives easier. Um, Now, what's funny is I'll sit here and bitch about it the whole time I'm doing it, you know, but I don't really mean it. I just I,
Well, my boss was constantly, I need you to do this right now. And finally, I said, I'd be glad to do that for you. However, I have this, this, and this, and it needs to be accomplished pretty darn quick. So, are you going to tell the people that are going to yell at me about these things that I can't do because you want me to do this instead of just saying, okay, I'll do it? And,
yeah.
and he goes, so if anybody says anything to you, who have them call me. I said, okay. But I mean, he would do things at the last minute and expect me to say yes and drop everything. And then the consequences were mine when I dropped everything else. When he's
Well,
responsible.
and so that brings up another kind of a subtopic as well. Do you just tell people no, or do you explain to them why? And how much explanation are people entitled to for you to support your answer? You know,
Well,
so
I think because he was my boss, he deserved to hear all that. Maybe somebody that was just an acquaintance, all they need to know is I can't do it.
Matthew's saying something. I can tell. He's thinking it.
He's
Don't put
saying
it
something.
in
Speak
his
up.
mind.
no, I just I understand where all of this is going. Okay. But it's kind of like one of those round robin type of conversations where, it's like he says, she says, I feel, they feel, so on and so forth. And it's just because of communication. It's not because of necessarily, here's my boundary, here's your boundary. It's like, what do you need? What do you need in order to be comfortable inside of this relationship, this conversation? What do you need? Okay. I mean, there's times that, that I kind of go, what are you talking about? I mean, Deborah, you do this all the time. Yeah, I'm
I
not sure
do.
what you're talking about. Can you explain that to me? Okay. But at least you're the type of person that will do that. Okay. I have friends that will let me go for 3 hours talking about something. And when I go back to ask them a question about it, they'll be like, um, I was like, you didn't listen or you didn't understand.
What they do, just turn you off?
Yeah.
Huh.
But the thing is, I have to take responsibility for that as well, because I didn't stop to ask to see, well, are you me or are you not? We all have personal boundaries as far as what we can tolerate and what we can't tolerate. But I think the question like that you wanted to start with is, well, it's about you. Okay. What are you willing to do? What are you willing not to do to have the peaceful life that you want, to have the exchange that you want with your friends and family, to, have those times that you kind of give yourself permission to just check out, you know? I think for a lot of us, we're so ingrained in people and pleasing people that we feel guilty, stepping back and going, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. And if we do put our foot down, then they get their feelings hurt. And then we have to come back around and reset boundaries about how we feel about them, how we feel about the relationship, and what we're willing to do. So it's kind of like I said, a round robin conversation. It just goes round and round and round and round.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed more lately, and I don't know if I'm getting more woke or what, but is that I can care about someone and care about them personally. But if they make a choice of putting themselves in a circumstance with another person, I can still care about them and not be involved in that drama. And
Yeah.
I've gotten to where I will tell my, you know what, you made that choice, you deal with it. I don't have any advice for you. I would not have made that choice to be in the middle of this, but you did, so you deal with it. And I'm not being mean. I just don't want to, I don't want to handle it. And another thing that I've started doing is I put my phone on do not disturb from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. For years I answered a suicide line, and I manned it myself. And I don't do that anymore. So I don't have to answer my phone. And now, in reality's sake, I have a list of favorites that they will call through, and those calls will come through, and that's my family. So I can get calls from them at any time. There's another little secret. Most people don't know. If you're on Do Not Disturb, if someone calls you more than 3 times, it'll put the call through the fourth time. Or at least it does it on Android. So I'm not totally isolated, is the point, you
Mhm.
know. But I just don't feel the need to do that. And I'm going to start doing that on Sundays as well. That's my Sabbath, and it's not so much a religious thing. It's just it's a combination of spirituality and physicality, and I need a fucking day to check out. And Sunday's usually the best time to do it. I don't work on Sundays very often. So that's my whole thing, is that I don't have to listen to what everybody has in their that they want to say to me just because they want to say it to me. I don't have to be an empty vessel to receive everything from them energetically. And I'm getting more firm about that. And um I'm doing it not only just for myself, but for everybody else, because I'm getting crankier. Notice I said crankier. Not cranky, crankier. And I'm much more blunt than I've ever been in my life. And um, if I may, Matthew contacted me a month or two ago about a situation, and he goes, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, this is the options. And I went into PI mode, and I said, here's the three options. And those were not viable options. I'm like, okay, I'm out of suggestions. Handle it, Roy. I did not feel a need to keep going until I found a solution. That was not my problem to solve. And that was kind of like the beginning of the light bulb for me that I needed to start making other assessments of conversations and things. And doing it with clients, non-paying clients, friends, family, everybody, not just one category of folk. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's
That
a
does.
tough conversation because I think communication is lacking in society anyway. It's like, Deborah, you don't go out of your way to step on people's toes, but people are sensitive to different things these days, and you just being you can set them off. Just like I'd have the same thing happen, me being me and having the opinions that I have. I'm just gonna set people off sometimes, but
People say
it's
stupid shit though. Have you noticed how stupid? I mean, for instance, I woke up yesterday. I just think random thoughts, and they hit me first thing in the morning. And I'm like, okay, with the non-binary situation that we have in the world, we have Mr. and we have Mrs., male and female. If you're non-binary and I want to write you a formal letter, how would I address that? That was a real thought for me. And I'm like, I'm sure there's an answer to that. So I Googled it, and there is. It's MX
a
or
mess.
M. Okay. I thought that was interesting. I put that up, and I cannot believe how many stupid comments I got that were just hateful. Well, I'm too old to learn that. I'm like, no, your honest answer is that you're too mean to adjust. And and then I find myself just getting snarky at that point. So some person says, well, I never heard that. And I said, well, now you have.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of saying stuff like that? You've never heard it. Okay, so what? Now you have. Do something with the information. I'm getting very intolerant of intolerance, I guess.
I think I get tired of people being milk toast. I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody understands that terminology anymore, but it's like,
Have you ever had milk toast? It's awful.
yeah, it's terrible.
It's
It falls
awful.
apart,
Ugh.
and it falls apart at the even at the touch, and I just think people are a lot, too sensitive.
Ugh. I don't know. I guess I'm frustrated right now with just things in general. I think this happens because of politics. So we're in an election year, so
Yeah.
things are coming to a head. People are just mean. They're just dead gum mean. And I'm going to tell you right now, you may think I'm a bitch, but if I was really mean, you'd know it, you know, and I can do it. Trust me. So I don't know why people want to be mean. I don't know how that helps them to feel better by being mean.
No.
Yeah, I don't know what I said, but I was at lunch with my cousin and my friend Kathleen, and this was oh, 70, 75, 76, somewhere around in there. And I had paid for Pat's ticket to come here, or Wichita Falls, or Archer City, so she could visit with the grandparents. She lived with them. She lived with them for over a year going to school. And we were talking and laughing and carrying on. And I don't have any idea what I said. And she turned and looked at me just as serious. She goes, "You're a bitch. That's
Yeah.
just," she says, "that's just how you roll." And I went, "What are you, what did I do that made you say that?" "Well, you're just a bitch." I said, "Well, I'll remember that the next time you want to come to Archer City to visit the grandparents."
Well, the reality is that other than family members, no one has ever called me a bitch to my face. Now, I've heard secondhand people have called me that behind my back, but no
Yeah.
one's ever told me that to my face.
Oh,
I wonder why.
Where's the find opportunity? I'm just kidding.
we can change that for you.
You know, my response is if someone says it, I'm like, so what? Why state the obvious? You know,
Okay.
Man,
Well,
big deal.
I was shocked because I just sat there thinking, what did I just say that made her say that?
Yeah, that's my
And
part.
yeah,
I think we're all socially, oh, I can't say that word. Caught myself.
what?
We're socially backwards. I mean, I'm always saying, why do these people react to this? Why is this causing this reaction? I don't get it sometimes. You know, even with Luann, I'm like, what the hell? Why is she saying that? What's going on there? I do it with my husband. I'm like, why did you say that? What does that mean to you? Do you know what I heard? You know,
She has done
but
that.
yeah, why don't people ask that more often? Why don't people ask more questions? That's what I want to know.
I know one time when you asked me that, I was saying, did you misinterpret what I said? That's a compliment that I said to you. She was like, okay.
Yeah, I did. I don't get that either,
And
but
she
she's
didn't get
not
it.
being mean, so I'm fine. Don't know why that's a compliment.
as long as
Okay.
you're not mean.
Yeah. If she's mean, I'd have to snatch her ball headed, you know.
I guess I just didn't say it right. Maybe, you know, people have different interpretations of words. So
Okay, so I have to tell this story. I have to show how much I have grown as a person. So many, many years ago, I was in the bail bond business and I used to do my own bounty hunting, which is how I got into the PI business. And I was looking for this one guy and he was a pain in my ass. He just was. I did bonds for him all the time and they were just little misdemeanor bonds and he wouldn't go to court and it was just a pain in the ass. But I liked him pretty much. And as a person, I thought he was funny and interesting. But so I kept doing the bonds but he had 3 bond forfeitures out. So that's 3 warrants and I've got to get him in jail or it's going to cost me $2,000. All right. And I'm a cheapskate. All right. So I'm looking for him and I go to the last known address I have for him and his cousin's there. And his cousin smarts off to me and goes, I ain't seen Charles and he ain't here. I'm not my brother's keeper and he's not even my brother. He's my cousin. So what are you going to do about that? And that just set me off. And I grabbed him by the back of his head and I slammed his head into the wall. I said, I don't know. Why don't you help me look for him? And I dragged him through that house, slamming his head into everything I could find. I slammed it to the kitchen cabinet and we opened up the
oops.
kitchen cabinet. And I said, Is Charles in there? And he's just, he didn't know what to do. I mean, he's 6'4". He could have probably hurt me really bad. I think I just caught him by surprise. And I wound up really dragging this man through the house and banging his head into everything I could find. And lo and behold, after about 6, 7 minutes of this, it's felt longer, I'm sure. He goes, Well, I know where he is. And I said, Well, it took you long enough to come to your senses. So I'm glad I could knock some into her head. He's got a bloody forehead. He's not feeling too good, So when people say, You're really mean, I'm like, You don't really know what I'm capable of. I'm really nice now. Very nice.
I'm very nice now.
I'm very nice.
I just have to get out of my system every once in a while. So,
Well,
I
just
have to smack your head into a wall a couple of times. Let me do it, please. I mean, it makes me feel better.
exactly. Exactly. Well, I had a shotgun. I could have shot him.
That's true.
Or I could have, poked him really hard in the gut and broken his spleen or something, but I didn't do that. But, just he didn't have to be such a smart aleck and he knew. And Charles told him when he goes, I don't know why you aggravate Deborah. Everyone knows not to aggravate them. You just don't mess with her. She's crazy. So we do grow, we do change, we do expand our horizons, we get more tolerant, but I think I'm getting less tolerant now. Not that I'm going to do that again, but
Is it less tolerant, or you just know where your hard stops are? Like, this you find out, okay, wait a second, maybe my boundaries haven't been set in stone. And so now I'm just really defining it to make sure that everybody else knows.
I think it's a combination of that. And that the other thing is that I know that I have limitations and that I think I'm just more sure of who I am and what I'm capable of, you know, and I think I have a better understanding of what my role in this world is, you know, and I've achieved a lot. I've helped a lot. I hope I haven't damaged more than what I'm aware of, you know, as far as people or situations. But I think, I think I'm just have a lot more clarity,
Hmm.
you know. When you can see in the dark, you're much more sure-footed when you run, you know, and that's how I feel. I feel like I'm more sure-footed, I think is the way to describe that.
I can get that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just being bitchy bringing up this subject though.
I mean, but no, actually, I mean, I think it's important. And why I say that is because it has me thinking about situations in my own life that I'm like, well, maybe I should have clarified that more. Or did I not say something that I needed to say to make sure that like the communication was there that I needed to have?
I think that is probably what is wrong with 65% of communications that have gone awry. And how many times do people think, oh, I wish I'd said that? Or later on, I wish I'd said that. Well, instead of saying it on the back end, why didn't you just say it on the front end? And okay, so here's another thing. So, like when I was single, if I was with someone, I would make it very clear to them if they were just going to be a sex partner or if they were going to be someone I was interested in dating long term. I told them right there off the bat, you know, this is just fun for me. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a good time. We're going to shake our booty, have a party, but I have no intention of seeing you again, you know? And I had someone tell me that that was the coldest thing they'd ever heard in their life. And I'm like, why? They have no false expectations. There's no sitting by the phone waiting for someone to call. There's no obligation. There's no wondering. I mean, zero ghosting or gaslighting or whichever word is correct there. To me, that just felt like that just took all the pressure off the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would think that would be refreshing, but I guess it's not, huh?
Well, but some people can't handle that level of security that you have.
No,
I mean,
honesty,
so
they can't process your honesty.
no, I can't do it. Can't do it.
Why?
And believe me, I've had people too. I mean, it's just there are certain things that I will not do, you know. And is there's times that I honestly had to tell someone like I'm gonna this is 3 times now that you've said this. Actually, this happened this morning. Let me tell you this.
Oh, good.
I'm helping a person interview some people to do some work for them, and I had a huge response. I probably had about 200 to 300 people, contact me.
Good God.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a lot, and I made sure that I emailed everyone back and said, hey, listen, I have a big response. It's going to be like next week, end of the week, before I can get through all of this stuff and make sure that we choose who we want to choose. Okay. Well, there was one group that of people that I received in a period of like 8 to 12 hours, probably about 20 messages.
Mm.
Okay. Not only an email, not only by text, okay, but then they started calling. Okay. And so on Sunday morning, I said, okay, listen, I was like, until I contact you back, I want no more communication. None. I'm sorry. I don't have anything to say to you. I was like, and if you persist, this is what will happen. And I said, is that clear? And the guy's like, okay, yes, that's clear. And I said, I'm going to pass this along to your business associates as well that are doing the same thing. Is that clear? Yes, that's clear. Okay, great. And so I did exactly that. Got a call this morning. And I said, what did I say?
So
Well,
I'm
Well, I thought you
dirt.
were just trying to get me off the phone.
and
I'm
honestly, that's about what he said. Honestly, that's
dirt.
about what he said. And I was like, okay, you can believe that. But as of this point, you are off the candidate list, period. I don't need this.
See,
I
I
was
think
like,
what you did was fabulous.
well, but
Fabulous.
I told them, normally I am all for being responsive, for having, communication and being right there. I was like, however, excessiveness, especially when we don't even have a professional relationship yet, I was like, that doesn't work. I was like, which
Mm-mm.
means that it's going to lend to some problems in the future. So I'm just going to take you off the list. Don't contact me again. And I was like, I'm sending the same message to you and your two other business associates.
And see, and there are solutions to certain issues if you have like I don't trust electronics because I blow mine up. So I just don't trust them. So for years, I used to worry that I would send an email to someone for business and they didn't get it if they didn't respond back. Well, now I fix it. I have an email thingy, whatever you call it, a program that it gives me a read receipt when someone opens it and reads it. So if I know they've read it, I'm fine. If they don't respond, that's their problem. I know they got it. Okay. But it really annoys me to no end that if you run into someone at a networking event or on the street or whatever, and they shove their card in your hand and go, I really want you to give me a quote for blah, 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 blah. And you go, great. And you send them a quote and they don't get back to you and don't even thank you for responding since they asked for it. I just think to me that's just rude. I mean, it's not really a boundary thing. It's just rude, just rude. I have no confidence that that person now, if they hire me, is going to treat me with respect as a
Mhm.
vendor, you know, that's annoying. So some of it's communications. I would say 90% is communications and 10% is just good manners. What happened to good manners? What you did, I think, was above and beyond the call of duty. You got back to, these people going, I got your email. Thank you so much. I'm giving you the careful consideration that you deserve because of that, it's going to take me 2 weeks because I want to do that for everybody,
Yeah.
you know? Because most people won't even respond, but or if they were their process would be, I'm going to take the first 10 people out of this that I can cull out of it that meet half of my criteria and not even look at the other correspondence or resumes. I mean, good God. I mean, that's incredible in my
Now,
mind.
that happens a lot. You know,
So
I we had an interview with a young lady, and the botany teacher was like, well, she doesn't have any experience in botany. She was some kind of secretary. And I went, her degree is in botany. Did you not read her degree? No. She's a secretary. She's a secretary in some office. I said, that's what she's doing now to make money right out of college. That has nothing to do with her knowledge.
yeah, you know,
And when I
I just
pointed it out, she was like, oh,
I don't know. How do people make it through jobs? And I really wonder how some people are able to stay in jobs 10 and 15 years because you can talk to them and you know that how they handle conversations or correspondence is indicative of how they handle a lot of their responsibilities. Not all of them, But if they're not good at that, how are they good at their job and how do they sustain those jobs? I'm always curious how that works. Of course, I've never had a real job since I was 20s. I'm not a good comparison or example. I've always worked for myself, and I've always said I work for myself because I'm too obnoxious and too stubborn, which is probably true. But
Yeah. I mean, it really is about communication. And it is like, and it is what you were saying, but there's that 10% that it's just like being nice. And in the landscape of careers and employment, okay, that landscape has changed completely and totally.
mm,
If I ask someone, so what is your career? A lot of people won't be able to tell you because they'll be able to tell you what their job is now. Okay. But if I went to any of one of my aunts, okay, or uncles and said, what was your career? My God, my Aunt Lois would say, I was in banking.
yeah,
I was a teller. Okay. and she was like at the bank for like 50 some odd years. She's living off of the pension that she made at that place. That's a career, you know. Nowadays, this is just a job. I mean, you're lucky if your boss actually cares about you.
I don't know, it's sad. And so we now have, this new generation, and I don't see what other people talk about in social media with the younger, the people in their 20s, whatever that generation's called now. Because, we work gigs at SMU and different colleges. I see kids that are hungry. I see kids that want to make a difference in the world. I see kids that have very definitive parents that are telling them what they want them to do, but they have a passion of what they want to do. And it's not being a rock star, okay? It is something that really would make a difference in the world. And I'm wondering, where do they get any guidance to help them feed those dreams and those passions? Because they're being pushed into careers that they don't want to do because of what you just said. There's no personality, there's no connection, there's no, and how many jobs now are people working from home still, even after COVID?
Mhm.
So they don't even get to gossip around the water tank anymore. Good God. That was the whole fun part of an office job, right? Getting to gossip around the water tank. So
Well, I mean, and I'm going to use myself as an example because I mean, I'm aged enhanced. Okay. And so if I would try to go back and get a job in, web development or graphic design or anything else like that, and 3, 4 years ago, but no, it's probably about 4 or 5 years ago, when I went and was seeking a job, I can't tell you how many times I went into an interview and I was actually being interviewed with people that were 20 years younger than I am.
yeah.
Okay. And they can't say, hey, you're old. We don't want you. But what they can say is, we apologize. We are not interested in an antiquated skill set.
Wow. Wow. And people say I'm mean.
Okay. Well, and that's their way of getting around, saying, hey, well, we really don't want a 50-year-old working in an office, of 21-year-olds, you know? And so how that changed the kind of the landscape for me is, well, I had to come out of it with my own career, so I'm trying to create my own business and try to find out where that fits and, go on from there, because I'm not going to be able to go back to corporate America making the same amount of money that I used to. I'm just not, you know, but for myself, I mean, I can at least put a plan together that I can get back up there.
No, that's why I was self-employed, because I had a skill set at a very early age because of my intelligence and other things and life experiences that I'd had. But because I was female, people didn't want to give me the time of day because they saw a young woman who should be at home making babies,
Yeah.
So I was able to take that skill, set and develop my own business. And, I was doing that from the age of 20. And I remember one time, I always had to deal with a form of sexism because I always worked in male-dominated industries. And, when I go to PI conventions, and I was always the little gal. How's the little gal doing? That type of thing. And I had to go serve divorce papers on a cop here at the local police department one time. And he was known for violence. It was in the divorce papers. And so I served him the papers, and we were right in the middle of the police station. And I turned around and I could feel something coming at me from behind me. And I just stepped aside. He was literally coming after me to beat my ass. And he fell on the floor, and he goes, "You just think you are something." I said, "No, I know I'm something." He goes, "You're just a wannabe cop." I said, "With all due respect, why would I want to be a cop? I make 10 times more money than you do." I thought he was going to pull his gun and shoot me at that point. I mean, he was so angry and everything. But, you know, the I don't think everyone has the tenacity or the willpower or the desire to form their own path in making money. And I think sometimes that's a good thing, because then they find themselves doing something differently that impacts the world in a much better way,
Mhm.
you know? I mean, like Luann with her apothecary stuff. I mean, that takes a lot of commitment. And is she going to get rich off that? I don't know, maybe. Depends on what she does with it. But does it give her a lot of satisfaction? Well, the hell you know it does. She won't shut up when she's talking about it, you know? She loves it.
Which I think is awesome.
Like told me I was at lunch with Matthew. I didn't let him get a word in edgewise.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I loved every minute of it because you could see the passion, you know.
Mhm.
And when you're talking with people that have a passion about something, it just you get excited about it too. So but honestly, I'm going to be very honest with you. I mean, Luann, I love those kind of conversations. I would just wish I would have more people that would do that with me, you know, because I don't have a lot of people in my circle of friends, okay, that will sit down and have passionate conversations, you know, about what they're interested in, even if I don't necessarily have an interest in it. I mean, hell, I had a like a 45-minute conversation with a woman that made hot sauce. Oh yeah, hot sauce, you know. But I never knew what went into the fermentation process and how you distilled stuff and how you like, you know, took and you had to get it at a certain temperature to make sure that like the certain oils came through. And it was just mind-boggling. Like I was like, really? Really? You know? I
Was interested in different careers. Um, I was talking on a dating site to a man who said that he was environmental research something or other, and I went, "Oh my gosh, that's so interesting." He goes, "No, it's really boring," and I went, "Okay, thanks."
Yeah, if you find it boring, why would I find it interesting? You
Yeah.
know? Well, I love the fact, and it took me a while to figure this out. I am an info broker. Everything I do gives people information so they can make better decisions in their lives. If they need facts, I do the private investigation. If they need emotional information, I do the coaching. And if they need spiritual alignment, then I do spiritual coaching. And then we also have the intuitive services that we use. So everything we have and what we do with the different businesses is about giving people information so they can make better decisions,
right.
you know? And I've always been told, and I believe this with all my heart, the more information you have and the more choices you have, the more successful you're going to be. And I do like helping people, but you got to say no sometimes. You got to say no. Because what I figured out is I'm not a regurgitation pad. I'm not someone for you to call and regurgitate all your details of why you're right and everybody's wrong. That's not who I am. And what I am is, are you happy? And do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Because if you want to be right, I'll tell you you're right and we'll end the conversation. If you want to be happy, I'll give you some tools that you can use so that you can make different choices. So
I
It's
think
funny you
that
brought that up because I had a boss that actually had it was framed and it was in his office and he said, I would much rather be right than be happy.
what an
I mean,
asshole.
he put it right out there. I mean, he put it right out there. And when you went into his office, that was the thing that was behind his desk and you could read it. Okay. And so you knew right coming in is like, well, he's going to want to be right. So you don't have any hope in this conversation whatsoever.
No, you don't. What's the point? What are you going to say, Luann?
oh yeah, I don't know. My boss was like that. When I would go and try to talk to him about an improvement in the lab, and he would go, "That won't work." I was going, okay. So I finally turned it around on him in that I would go and I would say, I saw such and such and so and so. I thought maybe that would be good for the lab, but I don't know. And so I would put the idea into his head. It could be 2 weeks later. He would come in my office. He goes, I've been thinking blah blah, and that it would be really good for the lab. And I would go, "Oh, that's a great
Oh,
idea."
that's a great idea. Make
Well,
it their idea. Yeah.
every once in a while, it doesn't happen as much as it used to, maybe because my energy is different or something. I don't know. But people would sit down at my table when I was working gigs, doing fortune telling, and they'll go, "How do I know you're right?" And I would just look at them and go, "You know what? I'm human. I have the right to be wrong. If you think I'm wrong, then fine. But I will tell you this. I said, I have a very strong confidence in where my messages come from, and he's never wrong. You know? So, I was being a little snarky, but it's really true. I really do believe that there's truth in what I deliver. Maybe they're just not interpreting it correctly. But if it's not, so what? We're really only there for entertainment. If they get more value than entertainment, I can consider that a huge win. And we get that a lot. So that's what I look forward to.
We don't always get, what is that called? Validation. But since I've been at Intrinsic, I had a girl come back several times and she goes, you know that you told me that there was a man in my life that I'd never seen before, and that I was going to meet him at work, and then he was going to call me back and say, I just can't quit thinking of you again. She goes, yeah, that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was going, oh, well, that's great. I'm glad it happened. But when you get validation like that, you know that you have to say things that don't make any sense to you.
And talking about Miles to Smiles events business, I'm just going to throw that out there. 75% of our business is repeat clients. Okay. Well done. Well done for us. However, holiday season is coming up big time. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. You guys need to book now. October is filling up. Y'all need to book now and think about doing something fun for Thanksgiving besides stuffing yourself with turkey, for God's sake. People do one or two things. They either sit at home and stuff themselves with turkey, or they go to Colorado and go skiing. Okay. Have something else going on. But so think about booking us. We do the handwriting. We do the kiss readings. We do cards. We do palms. We do tea leaves. We'll do anything, you can tell us how you like your turkey, and we'll do a reading based on your turkey readings. That'll be fun. I just came up with that. Turkey readings. How do you make your
We
dressing?
base that on how they carve it, or what
Well, do they
size?
like it roasted, or do they like it, smoked? Do they like it Cajun fried? You know? Do they like stuffing or dressing? Do they like it with oysters?
Like
You
with
know?
cornbread dressing or
Yeah.
just regular,
Or
yeah,
white bread. Ugh,
or white bread, yeah.
I don't like white bread. So, I just thought I'd throw that out there since we don't really plug ourselves much, but I'm plugging us now. Deal with it. So,
Yeah, because you've already booked me for October,
yeah,
and this is August.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're out and about, and if you've seen our emails, I've sent out emails, and one of the networking groups I belong to has sent out emails, and you're in the industry, come to Party Fest next week and come see us. We got all kinds of goodies going on there. And I won't be on a scooter, and I won't run over you this year. I promise.
She's not guaranteeing she won't be on drugs, but
I don't do drugs very well, but when I do them, I do them. I'm all in.
it's the legal kind because she's having some stuff done. So
Yeah. You can't really tell because of the lighting. This side is really swollen. And it's hard for me to smile evenly, So
you're only kind of yards of smiles today.
Oh,
see this. Yeah, I got it. I just now got it. It took a minute.
What's
Hardy,
time,
hard,
Joe?
hard.
Oh boy.
Oh, he's such a twit. I mean, wit. Oh my God.
Keep going with the vowels, you'll probably get hit sometime.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
I remember what I was going to say a while ago.
Oh no.
My problem with communication is sometimes I don't know how to word it when somebody's like, what?
Yeah, word. I'll go that with her word. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Because when I was sick a couple of weeks ago and throwing up, somebody was trying to text me, and I finally said, look, I know you don't listen to me, but what I'm telling you is I'm throwing up and cannot text you while I'm sick. So I think they finally got it, but I was like,
Yes, you could. So look, here, this is how it works for future. You bend over the toilet, you put the phone up like this.
and then you go,
I mean, my God, can't you multitask? What's wrong with you?
I believe it or not, I've actually covered my phone with plastic wrap when they've done that, and I have thrown up on the phone.
Gross.
Tell you
TMI.
what, tell
I
you what,
wasn't
they didn't
gonna
bother
do
me
it.
anymore.
TMI. Look, I know sign language. TMI.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't stop calling me. I mean, it's like, calling is one thing. FaceTiming me? No.
Well,
Okay.
when I
You know what I love about this group? You ready? You
yeah,
ready? I'm not the weird one.
are you saying that Matthew and I are weird?
Yes.
No, she's just saying that she's not the weird one. So, I mean, so that means that either you and I are number one, someone else is number two, and she's like something else.
I'm normal compared to the two of
You are
y'all.
not normal compared to the two of us. I'm sorry, no.
Give me an
No,
example of how that's a true statement. Support your argument, sir.
Support my argument? Support my argument for you not
Yes.
being weird?
Yes.
Why would I want to do that? Because then
Oh,
I would have to
look, see,
support my
that's the
position.
answer when they can't come up with anything. Uh-huh.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
ask the question again. Ask the question again.
Support your argument that I'm not normal.
Support the argument that you're not normal.
Yes.
Okay. Um, you know what? That's actually a very fair question. Can you do the same?
Yes. But you're different from me. So that makes you weird. Because I'm the normal one. You've already established it.
wait a minute.
No, then that means that you've already established it and you're going with your own definition.
That's right.
So,
Because I am in charge of my own communications and my own filters.
yeah, well, so that just means you're in denial about being weird.
Well, no, I actually like being weird. Someone actually told me I was average one time, and I was so upset. I was so
That you
upset.
were average weird?
Yeah, I know that I
No,
was
she's
just
just average.
average. And I'm like, how dare you? How dare you call me average? I was so offended. I like being different. I do. I like being different. You do
I just like
too.
being surprising sometimes.
Well, when you put on that pink rabbit suit, that was surprising, that's for sure. I'm still shocked when I see that picture. I'm like, no.
With that rabbit costume, I had so much fun. It was just a great time. The kids loved it. The adults loved it. I mean, it was just, yeah.
Well, I like what I do. I really, really do. It's other people that annoy me and they interfere with my flow. As long as they don't interfere with my flow, I'm good. I really can stay days by myself and never talk to anyone and be totally content. Seriously.
Well, I've started doing that, but I think it's detrimental to my well-being to do that.
To a certain extent, it could be, but also I have seen a confidence in you that has not been present in the previous years of me knowing you since something has changed,
Yeah, several things have changed.
you know?
Yeah,
And you do well by yourself, whereas you used to not do well by yourself.
right.
So
I
I
have
think,
chemical help.
I think that it's time to do an assessment so that you can reevaluate so you don't have false ideas about yourself anymore.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
that's my uh that's my advice for the day.
Okay.
Hey, have y'all been watching my Life Tapestry Oracle daily readings?
Yes.
I have
What
been.
do y'all think of those?
I think it's great.
Do
I
you?
think it's great. I mean, and there's cards in there that actually, oh God, what was the one that you brought up the other day? I can't remember, but it was like, that's an excellent card. I mean, that was like, okay, yeah, I can get that,
Hmm.
because it was something that wasn't like in the norm of what would normally come up, and it was so, you know, what card was it? I cannot remember what it was. Anyway, I mean, but I was just like, I was thrilled that you did the reading on it because I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Well, let me tell you something else. My daughter's doing readings on TikTok with that deck.
That's awesome.
And
And
yeah, Well, the reason I found out about it is that we have a rule that she does not talk to anybody on the week of her period because she's unbearable. It's for all of our safety to not talk to her when she's having her period. And I was trying to figure out if she was off her period yet or not. So it's kind of like stalking her on social media. And all of a sudden it popped up live. And there she was. And I'm like, what is that deck she's got? I'm like, oh my God, that's our deck. And she was doing a little reading using our deck and everything. So I'm like, cool. So even when we're not talking, I'm still in her world. I love that.
That's awesome.
All right, let's wrap this up. We went over. I'm not going to be able to get this on TikTok without editing, and I won't do that. So, but it'll be on all the other channels. So, anyway, Lou, tell them how to get a hold of you.
ancientherbalapothecary.com or Luann, Luann, at ancientherbalapothecary.com.
You need some herbs, and I don't mean weed. This is the
No,
woman to talk to.
this is like elderberry syrup and wild cherry syrup and things that'll help you through the winter.
And help your face.
Yeah, I got a facial serum
Yeah,
that Deborah
she's good.
likes.
I do. I love it. All right,
Well,
Matthew.
the
Dr. Pierce.
holistic cream is, I mean, I'll swear by the holistic cream. I do. I love that stuff. I really do. Anyway, Matthew at matthewapierce.com. The website is matthewapierce.com. You can also get a hold of me with my design services at connectionsdesignstudios.com. connectionsdesignstudios.com. And you can reach me there at Matthew at connectionsdesignstudios.com.
And this is Deborah Colleen Rose, the normal one of the group. DeborahColleenRose.com is the spiritual coaching and handwriting therapy. If you need some help getting your crap together, I'm the one that'll help you. ISDU.com is the private investigations. If you need to track down some backgrounds on people, do background checks on employees, due diligence with corporate mergers, we're the ones that do that. And then Miles to Smiles events. If you need some intuitive entertainment, we can intuit what you need and provide it for you and come up with all kinds of fun things. We're always looking for new and exciting ways to do what we do best. So until next week, we're talking again. Watch out.
Yeah.
All right.